Chapter 1161, Testing Perceivable Dao Immortal Gu. Chapter 1161, Testing Perceivable Dao Immortal Gu. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Perceivable Dao Immortal Gu. This immortal Gu had a round head and a black body. It had many segments in its body. Once activated, it started to shine in starlight. Blue starlight reflected on Fang Yuan's entire body. Fang Yuan breathed in deeply and concentrated. He observed meticulously, preventing any accidents from occurring. When Gu masters used Gu, it was not safe. Many Gu worms had backlashes or weaknesses. The same went for immortal Gu, and because they were powerful, the drawbacks and weaknesses were also larger. This was the first time Fang Yuan was using perceivable Dao Immortal Gu. Even though he used wisdom path methods to deduce it already, he still had to be careful. Initially, starlight only shone on Fang Yuan's body. But after a few breaths of time, starlight accumulated. It covered Fang Yuan's entire body like a thin layer of water. Starlight gathered into shining water. It got thicker and thicker, accumulating on Fang Yuan's face, limbs, and body. Afterwards, as time passed, the shining water faded. After more than 10 breaths, it vanished. The starlight around perceivable Dao Immortal Gu also vanished. It returned to its black state. But in Fang Yuan's mind, there was some information. He could see how many Dao marks he had in his body. The greatest number were in snow path and ice path Dao marks, reaching a total of 16,000. Fang Yuan learned this and his heart jumped. 100 Dao marks meant that an immortal Gu's effect would increase by 10%. 1,000 Dao marks would double its effect. Then 16,000 Dao marks would result in 16 times the amplification of effects. This meant that when Fang Yuan uses an immortal Gu from ice or snow path, the effect would be very strong. For example, compared to a Gu immortal without any Dao marks using an ice or snow path immortal Gu, Fang Yuan's might would be 17 times of this Gu immortal. And the most important point was, even though the power was 17 times as much, Fang Yuan's green grape immortal essence expenditure was the same as the other Gu immortal. This was different from City Well. Even though the immortal killer move was 100 times stronger, Fang Yuan's green grape immortal essence expenditure rose by a similar proportion. He also spent 100 times as much. This was very fearsome. Why did the battle strength of Gu immortals as their cultivation level got higher? This was the reason. Below ice and snow path, the second highest quantity of Dao marks belonged to luck path. It had 15,000. My luck path Dao marks were basically all absorbed from Feng Jun's accumulation. This person had a deep foundation. He personally ascended Immortal Succession Mountain and succeeded, inheriting a large number of luck path Dao marks from it. Oh, right. There was an earthly calamity with the giant disaster blazing tree. After passing it, I gained luck path Dao marks as well. Below luck path Dao marks were Qi path and sound path Dao marks. Both had around 13,000. Qi path Dao marks mainly come from Qi Zai. He was a rank 7 Gu immortal who cultivated Qi path. Almost all of his Qi path Dao marks are absorbed into my body now. Sound path Dao marks came from Tang Song. This person is also rank 7. He is a supreme elder from a super force of Eastern Sea, Tang clan. Below that was blood path Dao marks, about 12,000 of them. They were obtained from He Fan Grotto Heaven's blood path Gu immortal, Zhengtuo. Fang Yuan thought about it. He realized that among his Dao marks, the rest of those that reached 10,000 were all from rank 7 Gu immortal corpses. Among them, rule path Dao marks had 12,000. They were from He Fan Grotto Heaven's ruled path Gu immortal, Chen Qi. Water path Dao marks were around 11,000, obtained from lone immortal Zhou Li after Fang Yuan absorbed his foundation. Below that was transformation path and strength path. They summed up to 9,000 in total, close to 10,000. Other than that, there was an assortment of other paths, haphazardly mixed in. For example, there was wind path, wood path, and food path. I went through a few earthly calamities, the wind flowers, spring dawn jade orioles. They gave me wood path and wind path Dao marks. Food path actually exceeds these two paths. I guess the profound white flying salt calamity gave me food path Dao marks. And fewer than these were earth path, time path, and information path. Earlier, I joined the alliance of variant humans. They used an earth path method to attain information path effects. Thus, I gained quite a number of earth path Dao marks. As for time path, they are probably from the 100 Years Harmony that I set with Chu Du, similar to the variant human alliance. As for information path Dao marks, they must be from the alliance agreement of Xianxia sect. The least in quantity, like phantom path, still had 100 or so. This was the initial number of Dao marks that sovereign immortal fetus brought with it. Fang Yuan considered these numbers. From these, he had a glimpse of the nature of some calamities and tribulations. He concluded. Ice and snow path were highest, followed by luck path, chi path, sound path, rule path, water path, and blood path. They all had over 10,000. Below these were transformation path and strength path. And below those were food path, wind path, wood path, earth path, time path, and others. I mainly fight with strength path, sword path, and time path methods. Familiar face and blood asset immortal Gu are supplementary methods. My 5 grandmaster attainments are in wisdom path, strength path, star path, blood path, and transformation path. Fang Yuan looked at his situation. It was quite awkward. His paths with more than 10,000 Dao marks were almost completely different from his main methods and 5 highest attainment levels. According to Fang Yuan's original cultivation plan, his focus was on transformation path. But now, because he joined the 4 races alliance, this plan had a lot of barriers. He could not undergo tribulation in the icy plane. Fang Yuan could not draw out reckless savages' true meaning. If he could not influence the earthly calamity, he would not gain transformation path Dao marks, or even any rise in his attainment level. Fang Yuan pondered. From this, it seems that most rank 7 Gu immortals have about 10,000 or more Dao marks of their main path. But I have only gone through 4 earth calamities, and already have 16,000 ice and snow path Dao marks, while my transformation path and strength path Dao marks are close to 10,000. Looking at my wood path, wind path, and food path Dao marks, my total gain from these calamities add up to 30,000. Evidently, this number was abnormal. Gu immortals with rank 7 cultivation level had undergone up to around 40 to 50 earthly calamities, 4 or 5 heavenly tribulations, and 1 or more grand tribulations. After all these, their main paths only had about 10,000 Dao marks. Fang Yuan had only gone through 4 earthly calamities, but he had already gained 3 times the number of Dao marks as them. The stronger the calamities and tribulations, after passing them, the greater number of Dao marks the Gu immortal would obtain. Ordinary Gu immortals would have simpler tribulations. When they get to rank 7, they would have about 10,000 Dao marks in their main path. Those with higher aptitude and having high-grade blessed lands, or even immortal apertures originating from the 10 extreme physiques, would have more resources in their blessed lands. With greater fortune comes greater disaster. They would have stronger calamities and tribulations, and would gain more Dao marks after passing them. Fang Yuan's situation was unique in the entire world. Even if the sovereign immortal aperture had no resources, it was an immense amount of fortune in itself. The earthly calamity that befalls also reaches the limit of its strength. And because he was a complete otherworldly demon, heavens would try every possible way to kill Fang Yuan, causing his earthly calamity to be elevated to the maximum force allowed. In his first 4 earthly calamities, each one was extremely difficult. Fang Yuan passed them with great danger. It was like he was walking on a tightrope. But now it seemed, the risks were great, but his gains were huge as well. Even though my current development and my methods don't match, my Dao mark growth is real. At this rate, after each earthly calamity and heavenly tribulation, my foundation would rise to a terrifying degree. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan felt that all the difficulty and hard work he had gone through were worth it. Even his attitude towards the earthly calamities had vaguely changed. Each earthly calamity could be seen as a great chance to gain more Dao marks. After a few more earthly calamities, how much would I grow? How much would my foundation grow? Even Fang Yuan could not estimate this. The sovereign immortal aperture surpassed the norm by too much. His growth potential and speed could not be assessed by normal means. The amount of Dao marks Fang Yuan gained from 4 earthly calamities was multiple times that of an ordinary rank 7 Gu immortals' Dao marks in their main path. After clarifying the number of Dao marks in his body, Fang Yuan took out his immortal Gu, using perceivable Dao to investigate them. But unfortunately, even though the starry water covered the surface of the immortal Gu, Fang Yuan did not get any results. He realized, man is the spirit of all living beings, Gu are the essence of heaven and earth. Mortal Gu have Dao marks, while immortal Gu have fragments of the great Dao. Perceivable Dao can only investigate Dao marks, it is ineffective against great Dao fragments. Indeed, when he used perceivable Dao immortal Gu on mortal Gu and checked them, it worked like a charm. But his tests were far from over. Next, Fang Yuan took out immortal materials and used perceivable Dao immortal Gu to inspect them. He realized that even though the Dao marks in the immortal materials could be sensed by him, the expenditure of immortal essence rose when the quality and rank of the immortal material was higher. Perceivable Dao immortal Gu is an information path immortal Gu. When looking at purely information path immortal materials, the immortal essence expenditure is lower. Other than that, any other type of immortal materials would have an element of conflicting Dao marks. Thus, the immortal essence expenditure is greater. As for why using it on me does not cause more immortal essence expenditure, that is because my Dao marks are non-conflicting. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan had a stern expression on his face. The property of non-conflicting Dao marks of the sovereign immortal body was both a good thing and bad thing for him. For ordinary Gu immortals, when killer moves of other paths land on them, their Dao marks would first reduce the might of the attacks, but Fang Yuan would have to face its full force. In fact, when his Dao marks are of the same path as the attacking killer move, it might even get amplified. With just this point, Fang Yuan could not fight at close range. He was suited for long-range battles. After creating some distance, he could amply think and evade attacks. Perceivable Dao immortal Gu cannot be used on immortal Gu, and when using it on immortal materials, there is a conflict of Dao marks. All in all, it is not very useful. After Fang Yuan tried using it, he came to a conclusion. He could only think of 3 ways to use perceivable Dao immortal Gu currently. The first was to decipher immortal materials, preventing others from scamming him. The second was to investigate a Gu immortal's Dao marks, to probe their foundation and strength. But it was quite impractical, the time needed to use it was quite long, and the effect of the starry water was also very obvious, it was easy to take action to counter it. The third was in refining immortal Gu. Investigation using perceivable Dao could allow him to see the Dao marks clearly during the process of refining immortal Gu, as well as to make a comparison. However, perceivable Dao immortal Gu was unable to find out the exact location of Dao marks or influence them, thus, it had limited use. At most, it could allow the Gu immortal to turn from a blind man to a man with his eyes shut. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1162, Soul Path Trap. Chapter 1162, Soul Path Trap. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. After testing out perceivable Dao immortal Gu, it was time for Fang Yuan to cultivate his soul again. He flew out of his cloud city, and went to Luopa Valley. However, the usage of perceivable Dao immortal Gu was not over. Fang Yuan multitasked. Sovereign immortal aperture, mini southern border. There were ample forests, it was no longer barren. Ordinary mountains were evenly distributed across mini southern border in different places. A strength path immortal zombie was controlled by Fang Yuan, carrying some immortal essence and perceivable Dao immortal Gu as it flew in the air. A moment later, it slowly descended, landing on a small mountain. Fang Yuan named this mountain Heaven Sealing Mountain. The name was very grand, but the mountain was short and uninspiring. The mountain peak was being modified by Fang Yuan, there was a huge Gu formation on it, as the interior of the mountain was empty, it was sealing an immortal zombie body. It was Fang Yuan's original body. The Strength Path Immortal Zombie entered the interior of the mountain and came to the center of the Ceiling Gu formation. Fang Yuan's original immortal zombie body was 6 meters tall, it had a miniature pair of bat wings on its back, it had a green face and sharp fangs, its eyes were shut. Its 8 arms were all different, other than his 2 original arms. There was the Azura arm, Heavenly Demon arm, Blood White arm, Nightmare arm, Plague arm, and the Earth Chief arm. At this moment, the 8 arms were spread out like a peacock's tail, their fingers were tightly stabbed into the ground. Because it was sealed, the immortal zombie's heartbeat was very slow, there was only 1 beat every few minutes. Light was emitting from the Gu formation, blowing on the immortal zombie body like a clear breeze. This showed that the Ceiling Gu formation was working fine. Fang Yuan manipulated the Strength Path Immortal Zombie as he activated Perceivable Dao Immortal Gu. Starlight gathered into flowing water as it covered the body of the immortal zombie. A moment later, Fang Yuan got his results. He mentally snorted, something was done to it after all. His caution was truly wise. Xianxia had left about 10,000 soul path Dao marks in the immortal zombie body. It was more than Fang Yuan's original Strength Path Dao marks inside the body. After storing away Perceivable Dao Immortal Gu, Fang Yuan manipulated the Strength Path Immortal Zombie, opening a slit in the Ceiling Gu formation as the Strength Path Immortal Zombie pulled something out of its body. A Gu Immortal's soul shrieked as it was dragged out by the Strength Path Immortal Zombie. "Spare me, spare me. I will acknowledge you as my master, please spare my life." The Gu Immortal's soul struggled intensely, it seemed to have sensed its doomsday. Fang Yuan manipulated the Strength Path Immortal Zombie expressionlessly as his demonic claws controlled the Gu Immortal soul, preventing it from moving. In the dark space in the mountain, the Ceiling Gu formation shone with light. Not only did it not bring the warmth of light, it gave the environment a cold eerie feeling. The Gu Immortal's soul cried out, it made the atmosphere even more creepy. The Strength Path Immortal Zombie moved slowly, pressing the Gu Immortal soul into Fang Yuan's immortal zombie body. The Gu Immortal soul was unwilling, but Fang Yuan was amply prepared, he forcefully stuffed it into the immortal zombie body. Soon after, Fang Yuan used the Gu formation, activating the Ceiling Gu formation. Fang Yuan's immortal zombie body did not move, it lay on the ground like a statue. But after the Gu Immortal soul entered it, the body started to shake. Soon, the shaking intensified. Suddenly, the shaking stopped entirely. Fang Yuan's immortal zombie body stopped moving, he opened his eyes, they were red like blood. Roar! He opened his mouth and growled, the loud noise was echoing in the mountain's interior, like the rumbling of thunder. Fang Yuan sneered, the Strength Path Immortal Zombie that he controlled did not move, it looked down at the immortal zombie body. Indeed, due to the Gu formation's restrictions, and the arrangements done to the Gu Immortal soul earlier, Fang Yuan's immortal zombie body struggled to get up but could not, feeling weakness all over. "What are you doing? What are you trying to do?" The Gu Immortal soul screamed. He did not understand Fang Yuan's intentions, he felt an utter wave of fear and horror. Soon, the Gu Immortal soul screamed in a high-pitched tone, what did you do to me? My soul is melting, you have a vicious heart, I only have my soul left, and you still refuse to let me off." Fang Yuan controlled the Strength Path Immortal Zombie, he watched with concentration, he ignored the Gu Immortal soul's screaming and crying. The soul would melt if they enter Fang Yuan investigated with all sorts of methods. Oh, this is an amazing soul path method. This Gu Immortal soul could not even last a short period of time. Fang Yuan gasped, at his will, the Strength Path Immortal Zombie stretched out its right arm, trying to pull out the Gu Immortal soul from the immortal zombie body again. But at the next moment, a ghost face appeared on the chest of Fang Yuan's immortal zombie body, cackling at Fang Yuan loudly. An immense strength burst out as the Strength Path Immortal Zombie took 3 steps back. Looking at it again, the ghost face had vanished. Fang Yuan's immortal zombie body stopped moving, returning to the state of a statue. Fang Yuan controlled the Strength Path Immortal Zombie, carefully getting closer. Fang Yuan's immortal zombie body did not move at all. Fang Yuan continued to probe. The Gu Immortal soul that he stuffed into the immortal zombie body earlier had completely melted, not even a bit of it was left. The melting speed is really fast. Once the soul goes in, it is like a deep trap. Even if I pull it out, it cannot escape from the trap. Fang Yuan analyzed mentally. Ing Wu Xie's trap was incredibly vicious, the method was extraordinary. Fang Yuan was glad that he was vigilant. He did not take a risk to enter the body, otherwise, the consequences would be severe. After several inspections, Fang Yuan used perceivable Dao Immortal Gu again, inspecting his immortal zombie body. What is going on? The soul path Dao marks did not decrease, they even rose by 2,000. Fang Yuan was shocked. At this moment, Fang Yuan was completely stunned by Shadow Sect's incredible soul path methods. Melting the Gu immortal soul was a huge problem, but Fang Yuan could deal with it. The simplest and crudest method was to use Gu immortal souls and constantly stuff them into the immortal zombie body so that the trap would weaken after several activations, before breaking down eventually. But Ing Wu Xie's trap was not normal. It not only prevented the soul that entered Fang Yuan's immortal body from leaving, it even melted the soul and after that, strengthened itself, to replenish its expenditure and become stronger. Truly impressive. In this case, my action of sending Gu immortal souls to probe it is restricted. Unless I have a method that can truly target the soul path Dao marks in this body. Otherwise, I would only be making this trap more powerful. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth. Actually, the Eastern Sea Information Path Inheritance would have had many methods that targeted Dao marks. This could be seen from the Information Path Dao mark insignia in Flying Sword Immortal Gu. Flying Sword Immortal Gu was a Dao mark fragment of Sword Path, but Information Path Dao marks were added to it. The conflict between different paths was resolved. It was very difficult to achieve this, even rank 8 Gu immortals might have problems with it. Furthermore, the quasi-rank 8 skeleton that Fang Yuan obtained was also clear evidence. After a Gu immortal dies, their path's Dao marks would go into the immortal aperture as it forms a blessed land outside. If a blessed land did not form, these Dao marks would scatter into nothingness and return to the 5 regions. But this Information Path Gu immortal could actually directly carve this Bone Path Gu immortal's Dao marks into his skeleton. The method was very special, it was rather unthinkable. In the end, perceivable Dao Immortal Gu even proved that this Information Path Gu immortal had special methods that targeted Dao marks. The complete Information Path True Inheritance might have really had methods against Dao marks. It is a pity I obtained this True Inheritance too late. Most of the Gu worms are dead, and the Information Path methods are lost. How could everything be perfect in this world? Fang Yuan could obtain He Fan's complete True Inheritance, it was already very lucky. The Eastern Sea Information Path Inheritance had been there for too long, and the Information Path Gu immortal had just killed his enemy. He created the inheritance on the verge of death. The contents of the True Inheritance could not be preserved for long. Even though he obtained perceivable Dao Immortal Gu, Fang Yuan still needed to get more Information Path methods that could prevent him from being restricted by his alliance agreements. Searching for an Information Path Immortal Gu that can break alliance agreements is one way. But I need to keep it a secret. I cannot find Xianxia sect for help on this. Let alone getting Xianxia land spirit to help me refine such an Information Path Immortal Gu. Information Path inheritances would not be easy to obtain, and Fang Yuan's Information Path attainment level was at ordinary level. He could not design his own Immortal Gu recipe and innovate. In this trip to Eastern Sea, even though his gains were not few, Fang Yuan's original goal was not achieved. He still sought out and lacked Information Path methods. As his focus turned away from the sovereign immortal aperture, Fang Yuan began to focus on his soul path cultivation. An hour later, he left Luo Pa Valley. He rigidly stuck to daily soul path cultivation. Because his soul path foundation grew rapidly, Fang Yuan could stay inside Luo Pa Valley for a 50% longer time now. However, now that Fang Yuan saw the trap inside his immortal zombie body, he was wavering on his plan of cultivating his soul. Ing Wu Xie knew that Fang Yuan had Luo Pa Valley in Dang Hun Mountain. How could he not consider this? Cultivating his soul was not a wrong decision, but by the time Fang Yuan gained enough soul foundation to resist the trap, a long time would have passed. He would have to put in a huge amount of effort. And Fang Yuan's time and energy were not unlimited. He needed to spend a lot of time and effort in planning, devising ways to advance his cultivation and development. But I have to leave the matter of information path for later. The fifth earthly calamity is coming. This earthly calamity was different from the previous four. The last 4 times, Fang Yuan used immortal tribulation tempering aperture to undergo tribulation in the northern icy plain. But now, Fang Yuan could not stay in the northern icy plain, he had to find a new tribulation location. What location should he choose? A few days later, Chu Du sent him a letter, saying that he would help Fang Yuan undergo tribulation, in exchange for reckless savage's true meaning. At once, Fang Yuan was in a situation with his hands tied. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1163, Chu Du vs. Heavenly Lord by Zhu. Chapter 1163, Chu Du vs. Heavenly Lord by Zhu. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Northern Plains, Heifan Grotto Heaven. Chu Du stood in the air, the immortal Gu aura on him was emanating, his immortal essence was being consumed rapidly. Open. Suddenly, he shouted, his eyes burst with bright light, his body shook intensely. The ground several meters away from him started to crack open under the power of his immortal killer move. Suddenly, this opening became larger, it extended out, 100 feet, 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet. After tens of breaths, Heifan Grotto Heaven stopped shaking, a huge trench of tens of thousands of feet opened up along the ground. Chu Du had created an artificial earth trench with his strength alone, he was indeed an expert that stood tall and proud in northern plains. He breathed roughly, looking at the trench below him, he frowned. It is not perfect yet, even if it is long enough, it is not deep enough. After all, Earth Path Gu immortals are most skilled in doing this. All paths had their own specialties. Earth Path Gu immortals were particularly skilled at changing the terrain of the ground. But Chu Du was a famous Strength Path Gu immortal. There is another way, I can buy many Rockman slaves and modify this place. However, forget it, this trench is enough for now. Thinking of this, Chu Du took out a huge object from his immortal aperture. This object was huge like a small mountain, it was a red and black meatball, it was hot and round, vibrating weakly. Chu Du used his strength path hand, carrying this huge thing and slowly placing it into this newly created earth trench. This huge thing landed in the trench, once it came into contact with the soil, it spread out, becoming flat, spreading across several li. Next, its color started to change. Initially, it was black and red, but after spreading out, it took in earth chi, as its color changed. A portion became blue, another became green, part of it resembled jade, while another side was red like fire. Chu Du watched from above, seeing this color-changing scene in the earth trench, it was quite a dazzling sight. These were multicolored guts. A rank 7 immortal material that came from deep within earth trench. Chu Du acted quickly, taking out dozens of multicolored guts from his immortal aperture, tossing them in. The earth trench that was empty earlier was completely filled, no more multicolored guts could be put in. After carefully inspecting it, Chu Du let out a breath, his body slowly ascended into the air. He looked far away, taking in the view of Heifan Grotto Heaven. When he took it over from Fang Yuan, it was barren and completely ransacked by Fang Yuan, it was a terrible sight. But now, it had mountains and rivers, the resources were prudently distributed. Undoubtedly, these resources were all relocated from Chu Du's own immortal aperture. Even though he was just a lone immortal, his foundation in terms of resources was very deep. The initial developments are complete. In the future, Heifan Grotto Heaven's production will far surpass my own immortal aperture. Looking at the time, Lu Guan Yi is about to undergo tribulation. Suddenly, Chu Du's expression froze, his sharp gaze pierced through the sky. He saw a twisted figure squeezing into He Fan Grotto Heaven with much difficulty. "Who is it? You dare to invade my grotto heaven?" Chu Du shouted, his body flew over like a gust of wind. After the figure got into the grotto heaven, he smiled at Chu Du, "Domination Immortal, as a junior, your talent is quite good. In such a short time, you have already taken ownership of this place." The invader spoke big words. Against the Great Northern Plains expert Domination Immortal Chu Du, he regarded himself as a senior. But Chu Du did not rebuke him. He had a heavy expression. "It is you, Heavenly Lord Baizu." It turned out, the invader of He Fan Grotto Heaven was none other than one of the rank 8 Gu immortals in Northern Plains, Heavenly Lord Baizu. Heavenly Lord Baizu was originally a lone cultivator, but in recent years, because Feng Yuan destroyed Imperial Court Blessed Land and 88 True Yang building, he saw hope in creating a super force. He had planned this long ago. Inside his Baizu Grotto Heaven, he had countless blood-related descendants and even multiple Gu immortals. Initially, Heavenly Lord Baizu and Yao Huang worked together to deal with old ancestor Xuehu. Even though they lost, he had obtained Yao Huang's support. After that, when He tribe was exterminated, Heavenly Lord Baizu used the chance to take over He tribe's Iron Eagle Blessed Land, and also taking in all of He tribe's remnant forces. Right now, Baizu tribe had officially taken over He tribe, becoming one of the righteous path super forces publicly recognized in Northern Plains Gu immortal world. However, Northern Plains was different from the other 4 regions. Most of the super forces were of the Huang Jin bloodline. As an outsider, Baizu tribe was quite unique. Even though Heavenly Lord Baizu knew this and tried to be amicable with the other super forces, giving up most of He tribe's resources to satisfy their appetite. But after he officially created Baizu tribe, he realized that the surrounding forces were still targeting him. Because he had rank 8 cultivation level, these super forces did not give him problems openly, but they created many small issues indirectly. In order to defend his hard work, Heavenly Lord Baizu could only stay to guard there personally. As a result, he wasted a lot of time. Until not long ago, when the surrounding righteous path Huang Jin tribes realized they could not gain anything anymore, they gave up and Baizu tribe's situation became better. Heavenly Lord Baizu finally rushed to He Fan Grotto Heaven. The 4 supreme elders of He tribe did not know the exact location of He Fan Grotto Heaven, but they knew which area it was in. Heavenly Lord Baizu acted secretly, coming here and spending a lot of effort to find out where He Fan Grotto Heaven was. After getting enough information, he took action and started to invade He Fan Grotto Heaven. "Chu Du, you are an astute person. If you back off, I will not make it hard for you. I was a lone cultivator myself." Heavenly Lord Baizu said calmly, urging Chu Du to give up. Chu Du's lips curled up, he directly attacked. Rumble. With an intense clash, dust and clouds rose. Heavenly Lord Baizu was destroyed by Chu Du in one move. There was a huge pit in the area he was standing at. "Sending just an illusion, and you want to take He Fan Grotto Heaven?" Chu Du snorted, turning his head. The space behind him suddenly distorted, as a small centipede entered He Fan Grotto Heaven from the outside. Soon, the distortion vanished, and the centipede turned into Heavenly Lord Baizu's appearance. It was exactly the same as before. "Nice method." The second Heavenly Lord Baizu looked at Chu Du, praising as he commented, "You attacked earlier without any warning, and not a bit of immortal Gu aura leaked out. Is this your immortal killer move Formless Strength?" Chu Du did not answer. He asked, "Heavenly Lord Baizu, even if you have rank 8 cultivation level, to snatch He Fan Grotto Heaven away from me, it will not be easy. Because I have already developed this place for a while, I have made many arrangements." Heavenly Lord Baizu smiled, "No matter how long you have been here, or how many arrangements you have made, I can break all of them with my own strength." He spoke calmly, but he had an aura of confidence and power. There was only one reason. He was a rank 8 Gu immortal, while Chu Du was rank 7. Chu Du did not rebuke him, he nodded and admitted, "You are right, I cannot resist the might of a rank 8. But He Fan Grotto Heaven is my territory, how can I give it up so easily?" Heavenly Lord Baizu shook his head, "He Fan Grotto Heaven is good, but it is not essential. If the great domination immortal dies in my hands because of it, isn't it a waste? Chu Du's eyes shined with a cold light. Humph. Too much bullshit. If you want to take Heifan Grotto Heaven, just these small methods will not work. Show your true abilities. I want to see the might of a rank 8. Heavenly Lord Baizu was silent for a while, before saying, fine. As he said that, around Chu Du, in an enormous surrounding range, countless distorted figures appeared. Huge quantities of centipede goo went into Heifan Grotto Heaven, turning into Heavenly Lord Baizu's appearance. In an instant, Chu Du was surrounded by over 10,000 figures of Heavenly Lord Baizu. Even though he was encircled, he was not nervous, he even showed a look of disdain. Just illusions, no matter how many, they are useless. Chu Du raised his right hand, his fingers were spread out, before clenching together, forming a tight fist. Boom! A huge strength shot out from all directions. In the blink of an eye, all of the figures of Heavenly Lord Baizu were exterminated. You made many preparations indeed. Another figure of Heavenly Lord Baizu came from afar. Chu Du's pupils shrunk. The Heavenly Lord Baizu in front of him was not the main body either, but it was different from the illusions that Chu Du had destroyed earlier. Chu Du could sense the aura of immortal goo on this Heavenly Lord Baizu. Let's fight in the sky. Heavenly Lord Baizu was the first to fly up. Chu Du followed him willingly. There were lots of resources on the ground, he had placed them with much effort. Chu Du did not want these resources to be destroyed. This was also Heavenly Lord Baizu's concern. He had taken in He tribe, and built Baizu tribe, he made great losses. He had already paid a huge price to negotiate with the other 4 rank 8 experts. Even though he took in He tribe, most of He tribe's resources were distributed to the other forces to satisfy them. Thus, Heavenly Lord Baizu had a huge desire towards Heifan Grotto Heaven. But when he got here, he saw that the Grotto Heaven had far less resources than he had estimated. Heavenly Lord Baizu quickly realized that most of the resources were newly added. He naturally thought, did Chu Du store those resources away already? Thus, Chu Du became his greatest target. An intense battle unfolded in the sky of Heifan Grotto Heaven. One side was the clone of a rank 8 great expert, while the other was a famous rank 7 expert. The two sides fought like rumbling thunder, the entire world was shaking. After more than 10 rounds of fighting, Heavenly Lord Baizu's clone could not take it anymore, it lost. But soon, a second Heavenly Lord clone appeared and joined the fight. It also brought immortal essence and immortal goo with it. It was stronger than the first clone. Chu Du fought against 2 enemies, but he got stronger as they fought. After another 10 rounds, he had the advantage. He was about to execute the killing blow when a third Heavenly Lord clone appeared. Chu Du's expression changed, he realized something was amiss. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1164, Fifth Earthly Calamity. Chapter 1164, Fifth Earthly Calamity. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Heavenly Lord Baizu has a method to invade Grotto Heavens, but his main body cannot come in, he can only send clones. Heifan Grotto Heaven has a huge space, and the brass bell Heavenly Spirit was destroyed by Lu Guanyi. I cannot see the entire place, I do not know how many Heavenly Lord Baizu clones there are at this moment. Every time I am about to kill a clone, new ones come in. This shows that he definitely has more than 3, they have already formed and are ready to enter battle. Once I understand their methods and gain the advantage, when I am about to deal the killing blow, they would show up to save the other clones. This is definitely him trying to stall for time. Thoughts flashed in Chu Du's mind, he felt a bad sensation. Heavenly Lord Baizu was stalling for time, he definitely had his motives. Even though Chu Du could not decipher his true motive, there was one unquestionable point, he could not fight according to the enemy's tempo. Thinking of this, Chu Du erupted, his body expanded rapidly, turning into a 10-meter giant. Immortal Killer Move, Battle Strength Transpiration. His entire body turned red, all of the pores on his body opened up, as his sweat turned into steam, surrounding his body. Next, he raised his right hand to face the sky, palm up, his left hand was facing the ground. He chanted softly, "Try this move, heaven and earth combined strength." Heavenly Lord Baizu's three clones could not move, they felt like the entire world was sending an unparalleled strength that restricted them, crushing towards them from all directions. Chu Du did not feel well either. The muscles in his entire body were tense, he had used all of his strength. Within the steam, his face was bright red, his eyes were bloodshot, especially his two arms, they were bulging with beings resembling moving earthworms, it was quite terrifying. His right arm moved down, his left arm moved up, as if two hills were converging towards the center with great difficulty. In his immortal aperture, red date immortal essence expended rapidly. As Chu Du did this, the three Heavenly Lord Baizu clones felt horrible. They felt that the force around them was increasing, they were almost getting crushed. Seeing that these three clones were about to explode, at the crucial moment, the fourth, fifth, and sixth clones came to save them. Boom boom. With two loud sounds, the first clone and second clone were completely smashed by Chu Du, they were reduced to dust, but their immortal goo and immortal essence were missing, they were not destroyed. What an amazing killer move, it can attack, defend, and even immobilize multiple targets, it is almost like an incomplete battlefield killer move. The third clone was saved, but it still felt lingering fear. No matter how many clones come, it is useless. I prepared this next move for rank 8 existences. Heavenly Lord Baizu, if you refuse to show up, you will not be able to save these clones. Chu Du shouted, preparing his attack. He had spread out his arms and legs in a shape, his hands were facing heaven, palms upward, aura of immortal goo were emanating from his body, changing constantly, just the aura alone was far superior than the heaven and earth combined strength earlier, it was truly shocking. Heavenly Lord Baizu's clones all moved back, they used their defensive killer moves, preparing themselves. Boom boom boom. At the next moment, the Heavenly Lord clones self-detonated without any warning. What move is this? Outside Heifan Grotto Heaven, Heavenly Lord Baizu's main body frowned deeply. Even though his clones were all destroyed, he still had memories of the battle. Heavenly Lord Baizu could learn about Chu Du's mystical attack. This killer move is formless and covers a range. Once one is within range, from within, an internal strength would be produced and detonate the body. The area that it covers is actually so huge. Heavenly Lord Baizu frowned deeply. Inside Heifan Grotto Heaven, Chu Du covered his mysterious strength path killer move over the entirety of Heifan Grotto Heaven. It caused all of Heavenly Lord Baizu's clones to self-detonate. Heavenly Lord Baizu smiled, interesting, it seems that I cannot deal with Chu Du unless I enter personally. Once he said that, he used an immortal killer move. A profound white centipede figure flew out of his body, it drilled into space, causing a huge distorted shadow to appear in Heifan Grotto Heaven instantly. Next, Heavenly Lord Baizu took large strides, stepping into the shadow. Want to come in? Chu Du laughed, stomping his feet. A strength path leg flew out and kicked the distorted shadow, sending Heavenly Lord Baizu out. Heavenly Lord Baizu was stunned, before showing a furious and helpless expression. This Heifan Grotto Heaven is easy to defend and hard to attack, I will need 20 breaths of time to enter it. In this process, there is enough time for Chu Du to stop me. If I send clones in, they will instantly self-detonate, they are useless. Chu Du was completely defending, hiding inside Heifan Grotto Heaven. Heavenly Lord Baizu felt difficulty against this well-defended fortress. Heavenly Lord Baizu is attacking Heifan Grotto Heaven. Fang Yuan held Chu Du's letter of emergency support as he let out a breath of air. His worry was lifted. Even though Chu Du was his ally, in order to defend Heifan Grotto Heaven, using the properties of the Grotto Heaven to contest with Heavenly Lord Baizu, there were great advantages for Fang Yuan in this. Langya Land's spirit wanted to recruit Chu Du, it was very difficult. But if it succeeded, and Chu Du joined Langya's sect, it would greatly affect Fang Yuan's current status. If he failed, Fang Yuan's relationship with the variant humans would be exposed, the situation would be unthinkable. Fang Yuan could only stall it, one day at a time. Because of the alliance agreement, Fang Yuan could not lie to Chu Du, especially in terms of the tribulation. Fang Yuan could not continue to undergo tribulation in the northern icy plain. This way, Chu Du would make guesses, it would expose the snowmen and rock men under the northern icy plain. If this was settled poorly, and Chu Du attacked the tribe, Fang Yuan would be trapped in the middle, the situation would be very awkward and dangerous. Thus, he could not make alliances casually. In fact, most Gu immortals were very wary when making alliances. Fang Yuan had originally intended to use his time path killer move to slow the time in his immortal aperture, and inform Chu Du about it. This was not lying, it was the truth. Next, Fang Yuan would hasten his immortal aperture's time. Before starting his tribulation, he would inform Chu Du that the situation had changed. This way, Chu Du would not make it in time, even though it would ruin his relationship and trust. It was the best way. Chu Du was very astute, there were no loopholes in his alliance agreement. Fang Yuan could only think of this roundabout way. This method was very troublesome, however. Not only would it waste Fang Yuan's immortal essence, it would also cause a rift between Fang Yuan and Chu Du. All in all, it was troublesome. But now, Chu Du was forced to defend Heifan Grotto Heaven. He was engaging Heavenly Lord Baizu in battle, he could not leave. Fang Yuan mentally praised, Heavenly Lord Baizu really came in the nick of time, he solved a huge problem for me. For that to have happened, my luck was pretty good. Fang Yuan started to reply using the information path Mortal Gu. In the letter, he expressed concern and sympathy for Chu Du's encounter. He showed his intense fury and hatred towards Heavenly Lord Baizu's invasion. He said that he would definitely help Chu Du and would not break the alliance agreement. But his tribulation was coming, he had to get through this first before helping Chu Du, and getting rid of the huge threat, Heavenly Lord Baizu. He hoped that Chu Du would understand. Chu Du quickly replied. He showed his understanding and told Fang Yuan, it was not hard to deal with Heavenly Lord Baizu's invasion, he had already rallied allies to support him, he hoped that Fang Yuan could settle his problem and quickly help. Fang Yuan quickly replied, he would do his best, and all that he could, he hoped that Chu Du could hold on. A few days later, Fang Yuan left Langya Blessed Land, using the Super Gu formation to teleport out. Next, he rushed to Earth Trench without stopping, choosing an appropriate location to place his immortal aperture. The main part of Northern Plains Earth Trench had 17 sections, they were managed by Zombie Alliance. But after the Battle of Tian Mountain, Zombie Alliance was used by Shadow Sect and sacrificed, used to refine Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu, it caused the Zombie Alliances in all 5 regions to vanish overnight. However, Shadow Sect also had their arrangements. For Northern Plains Zombie Alliance, the headquarters, Dark Flow City, had sunken into Earth Trench. Other than the remaining members of Shadow Sect, nobody could find it. Fang Yuan came to an Earth Trench, it was not the one in Zombie Alliance. There were large numbers of lone immortals and demonic immortals there, they were all trying to look for Dark Flow City. Ingwu Xia and the rest might have even gone to the secret base there, unless Fang Yuan was a fool, he would not undergo tribulation there. Most parts of Earth Trench were split up by super forces, or were occupied by Gu immortal experts. The part Fang Yuan chose had been completely excavated, nobody wanted it anymore, after countless battles, it was barren and empty, nobody came here anymore. Fang Yuan chose this place purely because this place had rich Earth Path Dao marks, as well as many Dark Path Dao marks too. Immortal Tribulation Tempering Aperture. Fang Yuan successfully activated this immortal killer move. Next, he opened his immortal aperture's entrance, as heaven and earth chi rushed in. Soon, the 5th earthly calamity formed. The sky turned dark, a huge skeletal shadow covered up half of the sky. The skeleton cackled, opening its mouth and spitting out a dark current that resembled a black python. The dark current flew rapidly, everywhere it went, the soil became corroded. In an instant, they melted completely and turned into puddles of black rotten water, emitting a foul smell. Earthly calamity, corrosive dark current. Fang Yuan recognized the earthly calamity, he quickly dealt with it. The corrosive dark current was hard to deal with, Fang Yuan did not have any methods that resisted it, he could only fight it using his strong offensive methods. The skeleton continued to spit, as waves of corrosive dark current rushed towards Fang Yuan like seas of snakes. Heavens will had purposely raised the calamity's power to its limit. Fang Yuan was in a difficult state. This earthly calamity did not have reckless savage's true meaning. It was completely controlled by heaven's will, thus, it was multiple times as powerful than before. However, Fang Yuan had grown drastically in strength. Forget about the Eastern Sea Information Path inheritance. He had also obtained He Fan's true inheritance. He had many time path immortal killer moves to use. Even though he looked distressed, rushing around frantically, he had been preserving his strength to deal with unexpected situations. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know in the report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1165, Yi Fan vs. by Ning Bing. Chapter 1165, Yi Fan vs. by Ning Bing. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Huff. Fang Yuan looked at the black rotten ground in front of him as he let out a deep sigh. I have finally passed the fifth earthly calamity. Fang Yuan spent a lot of effort in dealing with the corrosive dark current, but he had He Fan's true inheritance. He did not have obvious weaknesses. After persevering for a while, he passed the tribulation. The terrain here had completely changed. He needed to spend a lot of effort to get it back to its previous condition. Thankfully, Fang Yuan's sovereign immortal aperture was huge enough. This area in mini Western Desert was originally barren to begin with. Fang Yuan's losses were minimal. In fact, he could even preserve this area and not modify it. Fortune and disaster were correlated. There were two sides of the same coin. This place could not cultivate normal crops, but it was now an extreme environment. Many types of special fierce beasts and plants could live and grow here. Of course, there was heaven's will lingering here. Fang Yuan needed to use a lot of self-will Gu to get rid of it. But it was a small matter. The important thing was, the fifth earthly calamity was over. Successfully returning to Xianxia blessed land, Fang Yuan concluded that even though the fifth earthly calamity was powerful, beyond the first four, it did not greatly surpass his expectations. There was one crucial reason why he passed it. Fang Yuan's strength had grown far quicker than the growth of the earthly calamity's power. It seems that earthly calamities themselves are no longer a problem. They can no longer stop me for now. The problem is human calamities. Fang Yuan thought about the fourth earthly calamity. The human calamity was too terrifying. He still felt a chill in his heart. That human calamity was terrifying. Even the immemorial rock dragon had appeared. Its might had greatly exceeded Fang Yuan's limits. Thanks to his bluffing, he evaded the danger and survived it. That means, heaven's will is conjuring human calamities now because earthly calamities can no longer kill me. Precisely so, heaven's will is plotting and scheming to use human calamities to destroy me. In this tribulation, I did not encounter any human calamities. That is because I am a complete otherworldly demon. Heaven's will cannot decipher my plans, and because I moved very quickly, it did not have enough time to construct a human calamity. Heaven's will was not a fake will. It could not have such an obvious influence. Especially towards the higher cultivation level targets or human Gu immortals, having the highest intelligence. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan felt that he should not undergo tribulations at fixed locations. Constantly undergoing tribulation in the northern icy plain allowed heaven's will a chance to affect many Gu immortals subconsciously. It nearly killed Fang Yuan. But this time, I purposely chose Earth Trench because I wanted an Earth Path calamity, to increase the number of Earth Path Dao marks in my sovereign immortal aperture. In the end, it was a Dark Path earthly calamity. Inside Earth Trench, Earth Path and Dark Path Dao marks were in the highest quantity. Fang Yuan successfully activated Immortal Tribulation Tempering Aperture. The earthly calamity had to be from these two. But Heaven's will did not want Fang Yuan to get what he wanted, thus, an Earth Path earthly calamity did not form. It was Dark Path instead. Fang Yuan used Perceivable Dao Immortal Gu to inspect it. He realized that his Dark Path Dao marks had increased. They were very close to 10,000. Earlier, my Dark Path Dao mark foundation was very weak, but in this earthly calamity, I gained at least 9,000 Dao marks. I made quite some gains. Even though Fang Yuan's dark path attainment level was low, he had a dark path immortal Gu, dark limit. This immortal Gu was very useful to him, he could conceal himself from Heaven's will's perception to an extent. Fairy Jiangyu had once used this to conceal He Lu Lan's 10 extreme physique aura completely. For this tribulation, Fang Yuan only spent a few days. Over in He Fan Grotto Heaven, it was still at a deadlock. Chu Du had rank 7 peak battle strength, while He Fan Grotto Heaven was heavily guarded by him, it was impregnable. However, Fang Yuan could tell that it was Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu who had the upper hand, even though he could not break through and was pushed back repeatedly. But Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu was merely attacking, he could attack or retreat, he could decide completely when he fought or left. Chu Du could only defend using the Grotto Heaven, he did not know when Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu would attack or what methods he would use. He was in a passive position. Chu Du is bound to fail at this rate. But he is still far from reaching his limit. Fang Yuan mentally assessed the situation. He thought, if Chu Du died in this battle, would he benefit or lose out from it? After consideration, Fang Yuan concluded, it was better for Chu Du to be alive. There were several points. Firstly, Fang Yuan had invested heavily in Chu Du. The first investment was the rank 7 immortal Gu Calamity Beckoning. If Chu Du died, Calamity Beckoning would perish. Secondly, Chu Du had an alliance agreement with him, he could not abandon him if he requested assistance. Thirdly, the calamities and tribulations were only going to get stronger from now, Chu Du's Calamity Beckoning could help Fang Yuan divert a lot of the pressure. His existence was useful for Fang Yuan's development. Fourthly, if he helped Chu Du defend He Fan Grotto Heaven, Fang Yuan would be able to relocate his storage pool, using He Fan Grotto Heaven to produce heavenly crystals and hatch the upper extreme heavenly eagle once more. It seems that I need to take action and help against Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu. Fang Yuan made his decision. However, he was not in a rush to act. Chu Du could continue to suffer, he had just undergone tribulation, he needed to rest and restock his green grape immortal essence. This was a justifiable reason, it did not break the alliance agreement, even if Chu Du knew, he could not blame Fang Yuan. Southern border, Sun Crown Mountain. This mountain was green and lush, it had stood for a long time. During each sunrise, there would be a halo over the mountain peak, resembling a bright crown, thus it was named Sun Crown Mountain. But now was night time. The bright moon was radiating over the entire mountain. Who else? Yi Fan stood arrogantly, his arms were crossed in front of his chest, he was standing on a huge rock. Opposite him, a group of Gu masters were shivering, hesitating. They were fearful of Yi Fan. Yi Fan, you were chased out by your clan, you are also a lone cultivator. We are also lone cultivators, why are you making life hard for us? A Gu master spoke. Yi Fan sneered, before we fought, all of you sought to overwhelm me with numbers, why did you not say that? Also, are you considered lone cultivators? Dominating this mountain and plundering the surroundings, as Gu masters, you bully the weak and fear the strong, you slaughter and humiliate mortals. You are all vicious fiends, you are demonic cultivators, you are not lone cultivators. We are innocent. The ringleader and main culprit has already died at your hands, we were forced to comply. Also, ever since we submitted to Boss White Demon, we have stopped committing crimes. The Gu masters cried out. Yi Fan's expression eased. According to the intel he obtained, the situation was indeed like this. Ever since Bai Ningbing took control of Sun Crown Mountain and Silent Flow Mountain, she had restrained the demons, taking them in, but did not give them any evil orders. Humph, if not for this, you would all be dead now, how could I let you live? Yi Fan snorted, he continued, I represent Shang Clan, I need to get through Sun Crown and Silent Flow Mountain, I will wait here, get White Demon to come and see me. Otherwise, tomorrow, I will slaughter everyone here. Yi Fan was very perceptive, he was not a rash brute. He knew that Silent Flow Mountain's defense was far stronger than Sun Crown Mountain, he came here alone, he could not take it down through force. Alerting the enemy and luring out White Demon was the best method. But the moment he said that, he heard an icy voice resound, "No need to call them, because I am here already." Saying so, more than 10 figures appeared partway up the mountain. The demons saw this and cheered loudly, "Boss White Demon! Boss White Demon has come to save us." Yi Fan watched with caution. He saw that all of the people who came were Gu masters. They were stronger than the ones on Sun Crown Mountain. Among them, there were many demonic path and lone cultivators. There were also several famous people with their own unique traits. But what truly attracted his attention was the woman at the center of them. This woman was dressed in white clothes, her silvery hair was shiny, like a tassel, it extended to her waist, her deep blue eyes were clear like a lake, they were calm and peaceful, her skin was pale like snow, her face was cold and aloof, but her unparalleled beauty could not be concealed. At this moment, she was lying down on a bamboo chair, she was relaxing and her eyes were shut, like she was resting. There were 4 snowmen carrying her chair. Yi Fan's heart shook. He had roamed outside and seen many things. But in terms of appearance, Bai Ningbing was simply a divine beauty. The only person comparable to her in looks was Xianxia. "Boss White Demon, we have tried our best to defend, we waited for you so desperately. You have finally arrived." At this time, a demonic path Gu master tumbled and crawled towards Bai Ningbing, calling out loudly as he showed a fawning expression. "You, who avoided the enemy and refused to fight, deserve death." Bai Ningbing opened her eyes slightly, blue light flashed in her eyes as that kneeling Gu master froze completely. At the next moment, he was beyond dead. The demons were shocked, the few experts behind Bai Ningbing shook, they recalled the terror when they had first met her. Yi Fan was also shocked, before he burst into anger. His good first impression of Bai Ningbing was completely gone, it was replaced with deep anger. As expected of a demon. You even kill your own men. Yi Fan shouted, jumping down the rock, staring at Bai Ningbing angrily. Bai Ningbing smiled lightly, stretching out her jade finger, pointing lightly at Yi Fan. At that moment, Yi Fan felt a cold sensation, covering his left leg. He looked down, only to see that on his left leg, a huge piece of ice had instantly formed. What move is this? I had already used my defensive killer move, but it could not block it at all. Yi Fan was extremely shocked. All along, he had used these methods without fail. But now, it had completely failed in front of Bai Ningbing. What cultivation level does White Demon have? My methods were given to me by Lady Shang Qing, a Gu immortal. It was actually useless. Looking at her expression, she still has not put in all her effort. Will I die in this battle? Yi Fan's heart shook intensely. He had greatly underestimated Bai Ningbing, to think that their difference in strength was so huge. But after his shock, Yi Fan quickly calmed down, his battle intent surged in the face of despair. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1166, White Form Immortal Snake. Chapter 1166, White Form Immortal Snake. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Come, even if I die, I will only die in the battlefield. Yi Fan shouted, his eyes were shining with a threatening light. The demons licked their lips, they gritted their teeth, they were going to charge up, wanting to kill Yi Fan and cut him into pieces. But Bai Ningbing suddenly said, isn't it too boring to directly kill him? Go one by one. These words saved Yi Fan's life, it greatly delayed the timing of his death. After spending so much time with Bai Ningbing, a demonic path expert who knew of her personality stepped up with shining eyes, since Boss White Demon wants to watch a show, allow me to kill this person, as long as the boss is happy, it will be our fortune. The demons heard this and all mentally badmouthed at this demonic path expert for being shameless, they were envious and jealous, why did they not speak first, this was the best chance to bootlick. But soon, they no longer had such thoughts. Yi Fan was in a desperate situation, but he displayed great might, killing a number of demonic path Gu masters. Even though his methods were useless against Bai Ningbing, they were more than enough to deal with the rest. Interesting. Bai Ningbing watched the entire battle while relaxing on the bamboo chair. It was as if the people dying were not her subordinates, but strangers instead. Yi Fan felt a chill regard her aloof nature. He felt disgust towards her. This white demon might look like a peerless beauty, but she has a vicious heart. She cannot compare to Lady Xinci. Birds of a feather flock together. The black demon guy who was with her is likely not a good person either. Ah! Suddenly, Yi Fan screamed. It turned out that his right arm had been pierced by multiple icicles from the inside. At once, his entire right arm was pierced, flesh was exposed, his pale broken bones could be seen, his blood was about to squirt out but it was frozen by the frost energy. Yi Fan's right arm was crippled. Alright, continue. Bai Ningbing said plainly. The demons had low morale, but seeing that Yi Fan's right arm was crippled, they saw hope again. A few more entered the battlefield, trying to take advantage of his weakness. But Yi Fan got bolder as he took wounds. He ignored his injuries, fighting while disregarding his life. Meanwhile the demonic Path Gu masters were fearful for their lives. They did not dare to fight directly, they were slowly losing. Some were defeated, while others were killed by Yi Fan when he had the chance. What do I need such useless people for? Bai Ningbing's eyes flashed as blue light flickered in them. The few demonic Path Gu masters who were defeated and still alive did not even get a chance to shout. They were frozen into icicles, dying on the spot. Bai Ningbing was fierce and ruthless. The Gu masters were trembling in fear. Even Yi Fan felt a chill in his heart. Bai Ningbing pressed lightly with her right hand. The four snowmen noticed and quickly lowered the bamboo chair. Bai Ningbing slowly stood on the ground, looking at Yi Fan with her hands behind her back. The demons were overjoyed. Looking at this, Bai Ningbing was going to fight. Yi Fan smiled bitterly. Bai Ningbing's terrifying strength made him feel deep despair. There always exists someone stronger than you. I was too overconfident. I deserve the fate of dying here. But before I die, may you answer a question that I have? Oh. Bai Ningbing looked at Yi Fan, assessing him as she said plainly, you are quite brave. Few can be so unmoved in the face of death. Very well, go ahead. I want to ask, what kind of person is Black Demon? Yi Fan asked the deepest question in his heart. Bai Ningbing frowned. All along she had been having a cold expression, but this change in her expression showed that she was not calm on the inside. Bai Ningbing looked at the moon in the sky, dragging her words. Yi Fan focused, listening attentively. But Bai Ningbing showed a mocking and cold gaze in her eyes. Yi Fan stared with his eyes wide open. He was instantly frozen into an icicle. Bai Ningbing looked at the night sky and bright moon. After a few breaths of time, she retracted her gaze and walked away. Behind her, Yi Fan's entire body was frozen in transparent ice. He died. The demons were silent. They were like frightened cicadas. But Bai Ningbing only took a few steps when a peculiar black aura appeared behind her, causing her silvery hair to flutter in the air. Oh! Bai Ningbing's blue eyes shrunk to pin size. She turned around and realized that four figures had suddenly appeared behind Yi Fan all of a sudden. Among them, one had an ugly appearance. He was an immortal zombie, placing his arm on Yi Fan's shoulder. He was using an immortal killer move. The peculiar aura that Bai Ningbing sensed earlier came from it. Bai Ningbing's hair was standing. Her battle intent rose to its peak at this moment. Gu immortal aura burst out from her body. Soon, her body started to change. Her Adam's apple appeared. Her body grew taller. Her soft and plump chest shrank and became a muscular male chest. Her face had turned into one with a sharp dagger-like appearance. Bai Ningbing, your phantom aperture was given to you by my shadow sect. It can suppress the transformation path Dao marks in you and revert you to your male body. It can also allow you to become a false immortal and own green grape immortal essence. You will be able to refine and use immortal Gu. But now, you want to use this phantom aperture to fight me? Xia chuckled. A member of Shadow Sect? Bai Ningbing squinted. A dangerous cold light was flashing in his eyes. As he said that, Yi Fan was revived by Xia. The ice around his body had turned into water. He sat on the ground weakly, gasping loudly with a pale expression. The feeling of life and death, he could feel entirely what true horror was. His mental state was heavily affected, he could not control himself. You cannot kill this person. Xianxia looked at Yi Fan plainly. He had luck inspection Immortal Gu, he could see Yi Fan's abundant luck. Ever since they escaped from Eastern Sea, he had been hiding inside Xianxia's immortal aperture, devising methods to deal with Fang Yuan's investigative killer move. Even though there was not much success, after Xianxia saw Yi Fan, he could feel a resonance in their luck, he knew that their luck was connected. Fang Yuan is the owner of Spring-Autumn Cicada and was a tool of heaven's will, he returned from the future and knows who has great luck. Killing Yi Fan would harm my own luck. As for Bai Ningbing, he is under Shadow Sect's alliance agreement, I am not afraid he will turn on us. He also has one of the 10 extreme physiques, he would be very useful in saving my main body. Xianxia thought over this, while he suddenly tossed out a rank 5 mortal Gu. White form immortal snake. Bai Ningbing received it with a perplexed expression, he recognized this Gu worm which had left a heavy impression in him. This is a crucial clue in the old bet of the heaven surveying 5 Xiangs. Bai Ningbing, you are the last bloodline descendant of Bai Xiang, you have the proper status to participate in the bet. Xianxia said slowly. Bai Ningbing was silent before asking, this is the reason why your Shadow Sect is scheming to rope me in? Xianxia did not answer, he only moved as he left this place. He Lulan, Xianxia, and Tai Bai Yunxing followed closely after him. Bai Ningbing gritted his teeth, he restrained the cold light in his eyes as he followed them. Yi Fan was left behind, kneeling on the ground with his arms supporting him, stopping him from collapsing, as he gasped heavily. As for those demonic Path Gu masters, they were all like statues, when the wind blew, they turned into rotten black mud. Northern Plains, become Dragon Mound. Sir, you have come to help us, our Chu sect is extremely grateful. A Strength Path Gu immortal greeted Fang Yuan respectfully. Fang Yuan nodded, looking at the person. Before encountering Fang Yuan, in order to get Reckless Savage's true meaning and increase his Strength Path attainment level, Chu Du had spent a lot of time and effort to nurture mortal Gu masters, to help them become Gu immortals. As time passed, he gained a good number of Strength Path Gu immortals. Chu Du treated them as disciples, and casually created a sect, naming it Chu Sect. Even though Chu Du is nurturing these Strength Path Gu immortals, it is not his aim. Strength Path is declining, and these Strength Path Gu immortals lack Immortal Gu, they are not a threat. Fang Yuan assessed as he looked at Become Dragon Mound in front of him. This mound was short and flat, it did not look amazing, but it was a true land of fortune. In Become Dragon Mound, there were lots of Transformation Path Dao marks. These Transformation Path Dao marks could allow the living beings staying here to transform into dragon beasts. There were large numbers of Dragon Gu that were produced here before, like Golden Dragon Gu, Water Dragon Gu, Earth Dragon Gu, Dragon Claw Gu, Dragon Breath Gu, Dragon Pearl Gu, and so on. Unfortunately, after He tribe was destroyed, this place was ransacked by several Gu immortals. But in the last few months, Bai Zhu tribe took control and started to develop, sending Gu immortals to guard Become Dragon Mound, allocating resources to rebuild it and return it to its former glorious state. This was one of Bai Zhu tribe's important resource points. I have already investigated clearly, this place was originally guarded by He tribe's 4th Supreme Elder. But the developments he had made here were taken away by Bai Zhu tribe's Gu immortals, no longer present. He tribe's 4th Supreme Elder has rank 7 cultivation level. But the Bai Zhu tribe Gu immortal sent here only has rank 6 cultivation level, it is good for us to act, we will attack this place. Everyone is already in position, we just have to attack and fight the first battle. As long as we deal a huge blow to Bai Zhu tribe, it will surely make Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu wary and give up on He Fan Grotto Heaven, returning to guard his territory. Chu Sect's Gu immortals continued to talk, feeling excited. If Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu was still a lone cultivator like before, Chu Du might have given up on defending He Fan Grotto Heaven already. But now that he was taking over He tribe and creating his own righteous path superforce, even though his territory was expanding rapidly, he gained a weakness. Strength and weakness in this world were relative. Like in the past, when Zombie Alliance took revenge on old ancestor Xuehu, Blazing Heaven Demonists did not dare to fight him head-on, but they looked to trouble Snowy Mountain's demonic path Gu immortals, plundering their immortal materials and ruining their collection. Before long, old ancestor Xuehu could not take it anymore, he had to give in to Zombie Alliance. Chu Du had both brains and brawn, his tactic in dealing with Heavenly Lord Baizu was definitely the best one. However, the actual effect would depend on how much damage Fang Yuan and Chu Sec Strength Path Gu immortals can do. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1167, Become Dragon Mound. Chapter 1167, Become Dragon Mound. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Northern Plains, outside Become Dragon Mound. The Strength Path Gu immortal from Chu sect continued. It is not easy to get information on this Gu immortal from Baizu tribe. Their Gu immortals all live inside Heavenly Lord Baizu's Grotto Heaven, they rarely move around in Northern Plains. It turned out, when he was still speaking, Fang Yuan had already flown out. Quick, come back. Our battle plan has not been established yet. Don't be rash. We might have two people on our side while the enemy is alone, but they have the territorial advantage. Become Dragon Mound has a set of Gu formations that can allow them to defend. As long as they last for a moment, there will be an endless stream of reinforcements from Baizu tribe. The Chu sect Gu immortal quickly transmitted, he was extremely frantic. Fang Yuan did not reply to him, he flew into the air and called out, Baizu tribe, come out, my Chu sect is taking over Become Dragon Mound. What Chu sect? Never heard of it. You dare to cause a scene in my Baizu tribe. A young Gu immortal appeared on Become Dragon Mound, showing intense rage. We're doomed. The Chu sect Gu immortal had his head in his hands, showing a defeated and aggrieved look. Why did Master find such a person? He is too rash, he is just too rash. The situation was good earlier, sigh. He shook his head continuously. Right now, they had no choice but to attack forcefully. The Chu sect Gu immortal was about to appear, when Fang Yuan attacked. Boom! A giant hand flew out, crushing the air like an imposing mountain. It had an incredible aura. Be it the Chu sect Gu immortal or Baizu tribe's Gu immortal, they were staring with dumbfounded expressions at this move. The Baizu Gu immortal was the first to react. He shrieked, rank 7 battle strength. You, a senior that is pretending to be weaker, aren't you ashamed? Saying so, he frantically activated Become Dragon Mound's defensive Gu formation. After activating the Gu formation, Become Dragon Mound shone in layers of bright light. The entirety of Become Dragon Mound was enveloped by it. Fang Yuan snorted, the Strength Path giant hand ignored it, slamming on the formation. Bam bam bam. The Strength Path giant hand had incredible power. Everywhere it went, the Gu formation collapsed without resistance. It could not even last 5 breaths of time. Become Dragon Mound's defensive Gu formation was crushed by Fang Yuan, it became extremely damaged. The Baizu Gu immortal had a pale expression. He was only rank 6, seeing Fang Yuan's strength, he did not dare to stay, he did not speak, rushing away immediately. Fang Yuan did not chase him, he flew towards the sky above Become Dragon Mound. Become Dragon Mound was completely ruined, but it was fine. Fang Yuan had landscape as before Immortal Gu. However, he could not use it in front of others. Thus, Fang Yuan used another Immortal Gu. Pulling Mountain. Rumble. Under the Chu sect Gu immortal's shocked gaze, the entirety of Become Dragon Mound was pulled up by Fang Yuan, before he opened his immortal aperture's entrance and stuffed it inside. He actually took away Become Dragon Mound entirely. Chu sect's Gu immortal stammered, he was completely incoherent. At this point, he finally realized Fang Yuan's words earlier were true, he was not exaggerating to raise morale. Junior pays respect to senior. The Chu sect Gu immortal lowered his head, flying into the air as he greeted Fang Yuan again. He was very careful, in a state of nervousness. Fang Yuan revealed rank 6 Gu immortal aura, but the Chu sect Gu immortal was extremely suspicious of it. He felt that Fang Yuan was one of those senior great experts who had a strange interest in pretending to be weak. Fang Yuan smiled lightly, looking in the direction of He Fan Grotto Heaven. He did not do anything else. This action was huge. Bai Zhu tribe would definitely act rapidly, exacting revenge with all their strength. Retreating now was the safest option. He had already obtained become Dragon Mound anyway. As for Bai Zhu tribe's Gu immortals, there were only a few of them, they could not be killed. It was okay to kill He tribe Gu immortals, but killing Bai Zhu tribe Gu immortals would truly enrage Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu. That was not a wise decision. Soon, news that the tribe was getting attacked spread to Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu's ears. Oh. It seems that Chu Du's force is not small. Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu was shocked. A total of 8 Gu immortals, all of strength path. Chu Du, you have some deeply hidden plans and motives. Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu squinted, speaking in an eerie tone. This rank 8 Gu immortal had to admit, he had underestimated Chu Du. Not only did he underestimate Chu Du, he also underestimated his force. Once news got out, the entire Northern Plains Gu immortal world would be shaken. Nobody had expected that Chu Du would gather such a group of people around him. However, if you want me to retreat like this, you are simply looking down on me, Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu. Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu did not waver at all, he continued to stay, considering all sorts of methods to try and enter He Fan Grotto Heaven. As expected, once information got out, the Northern Plains Gu immortal world which had just calmed down went into a commotion again. Bai Zhu tribe was attacked by an unknown force, it suffered a huge loss, losing a number of its resource points. The biggest loss was become Dragon Mound, the area had simply turned into a giant pit. Bai Zhu tribe was like an enraged lion, it bare its fangs and claws, wanting to take revenge. But Chu sect's Gu immortals came and left quickly, with a well-executed battle tactic, they did not lose any members. A few days later, Fang Yuan looked at the battle reports in Langyup Blessed Land. This means, He Fan Grotto Heaven's danger has not been resolved yet. After all, this time, even though Chu sect attacked at full force, causing a huge commotion, Bai Zhu tribe did not suffer a huge loss. The biggest loss was become Dragon Mound, the rest of the areas were originally quite damaged, they had not been fully restored. And because these strength path Gu immortals have few immortal Gu, their battle strength is low, they could only cause little damage. All in all, the commotion is greater than the effect, no wonder Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu could endure it and continue to attack He Fan Grotto Heaven without going back. This way, the situation was in a deadlock. The fight over the ownership of He Fan Grotto Heaven was split into two battlefields. One was Chu Du defending He Fan Grotto Heaven, while Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu tried to invade it. Chu Du was very passive, as Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu had the initiative. The other was Chu sect attacking Bai Zhu tribe's territories, Chu sect had the initiative, while Bai Zhu tribe had to defend. In conclusion, Chu Du's side is weaker. Fang Yuan's side. Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu with rank 8 cultivation level was much stronger. The reason why he could not display it was because he was trying to invade the Grotto Heaven of an even stronger rank 8 Gu immortal. Gu immortals with more Dao marks would face more difficulty in entering Blessed Lands or Grotto Heavens. Rank 8 Gu immortals could not even enter Blessed Lands, if they tried, the entire Blessed Land would burst from exceeding its capacity. And even though Bai Zhu tribe had been created recently, it did not have a weak foundation, it took in many members of He tribe, its combined strength exceeded Chu sect. Chu sect was able to have the advantage the first time because it launched a sneak attack, it caught the Bai Zhu tribe members off guard. If they tried this again, the other party would be wary, it would be less easy and safe. At this rate, there is a high chance of Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu taking over He Fan Grotto Heaven, however, Chu Du still has his trump cards. Fang Yuan decided to wait and see. A few days later, the entire Chu sect was worried about Chu Du's safety. They wanted to launch another attack and invited Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan rejected them, telling them not to act rashly. Chu sect did not listen to Fang Yuan, but soon, Chu Du sent a letter to restrain them. Even though Chu Du was being attacked by a rank 8 Gu immortal, he had a clear mind. He could look at the situation and assess it accurately. This move was very strategic. He preserved Chu sect's foundation. The situation fell into a deadlock again. Next, it will depend on how Chu Du reacts. Fang Yuan did not believe that the great domination immortal would stop here. He forgot about this matter for the time being. The fifth earthly calamity was already over. His focus was on developing his immortal aperture. After taking Become Dragon Mound, Mini Southern Border obtained another named mountain. Even though Become Dragon Mound did not look amazing, it had deep foundations. It successfully overthrew Immortal Succession Mountain, becoming the second most valuable mountain after 5 Light Mountain. In Mini Western Desert, there was a rotten dark swamp, filled with dark path Dao marks. Fang Yuan had already used enough self-will Gu to completely cleanse away the lingering heavens will in it. Other than that, in Mini Eastern Sea, there was a new blood lake that was isolated from the outside sea. This blood lake had the blood of desolate beasts and Gu immortals added by Fang Yuan. Blood asset Immortal Gu was placed in it, floating inside the blood lake. This Immortal Gu had been overused by Fang Yuan in a previous calamity. It was heavily damaged. Thus, it was placed here, recovering slowly. Fang Yuan used his divine sense and looked at it, realizing that blood asset Immortal Gu was still quite far from a full recovery. But this blood path Immortal Gu could already be considered easy to heal. Other Immortal Gu would require parallel refinement methods to recover. Not only would the difficulty be high, the risk would also be high. Among my Dao marks, the one most suited to me is my high number of blood path Dao marks. But I only have one Immortal Gu, blood asset, if I can refine blood deity. Fang Yuan's plan of refining blood deity had been going on for some time. Inside Langya Blessed Land, White Hair Continent, Yellow Hair Continent, and Black Hair Continent had been in war for many years. Hold on, you have to persevere, our reinforcements are here. The leader of the black-haired Gu masters shouted, attempting to raise the morale. On this battlefield, only a small part of the black-haired army was left. The rest of the place was occupied by the allied white-haired and yellow-haired armies. Black-haired Gu masters fought bravely, but they had limited troops. They were shrinking in number. Croak. Right at this moment, the croaking of a toad resounded in the battlefield like thunder. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A huge tide flowed, sweeping the battlefield. Everywhere it went, countless white-haired and yellow-haired troops were washed away. At once, the allied army suffered huge losses. A black-hair rank 5 Gu master. Oh no, it is that toad Gu master Fang Zheng. The allied white and yellow-haired armies were in chaos. We are saved, it is Fang Zheng. The black-haired Gu masters had complex emotions. Under everyone's gazes, Fang Zheng stood on the back of the river swallowing toad. He was dressed in a blue robe, entering the battlefield with a rush of his tides. Rumble. He suddenly attacked. His offense was extremely strong, rampaging in the battlefield. Everywhere he went, troops fell over their horses. The allied army was sent into chaos by him. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1168, Lightning Refinement, Ma Hongyun. Chapter 1168, Lightning Refinement, Ma Hongyun. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. You have finally become a strong expert. In all 3 continents, your current strength is at least top 10. Fang Yuan's fake will purposely praised in his mind. Fang Zheng replied plainly, with enough accumulated growth, it happens naturally. These last years, he killed mercilessly. Under the pressure of life and death, he was gradually understanding Fang Yuan's emotions when he slaughtered his clan. He had no choice. Either you die or I die. Fang Zheng was still unable to forgive Fang Yuan, but he understood the reason why he did it. His deep hatred had faded slowly as time passed. after Fang Yuan's fake will help him to escape danger time and time again. Run! We are not Fang Zheng's match. Soon, the allied white and yellow-haired Gu master army broke apart. Fang Zheng did not talk to the black-haired Gu masters, he cleared out the battlefield and left, leaving behind black-haired Gu masters who were looking at him with complex expressions as he left. So he is that rumored human Gu master. Amazing! In the blink of an eye, victory was decided. Unfortunately, he offended the higher-ups and is not a hairy man. No matter how big his contributions are, he can only reach this stage. Even though I am grateful to him, for my own future, should keep a distance from him. Langya blessed land. After receiving the fake will, Fang Yuan had an understanding expression. Oh, it seems that Fang Zheng is going to be ready soon, but blood deity's recipe has not been completed. Should I divert some of my energy towards this? Originally, according to Fang Yuan's plans, he was going to use the light of wisdom to deduce blood deity's recipe. It was the fastest way. But the light of wisdom was unusable now. Fang Yuan might as well deduce it himself, it would be more quickly this way than trying to use it again. But thinking about it, Fang Yuan gave up on this alluring option. Firstly, he had He Fan's time path true inheritance, he did not lack methods, refining blood deity was only icing on the cake. On the other hand, blood path was not doing well in the current period. Once he used it, he would be chased down by all kinds of Gu immortals. From Fang Yuan's perspective, the 5 regions chaotic war was the best time to display blood path again. Ever since he took become Dragon Mound, these last days, Fang Yuan had been waiting for Chu Du to act while cultivating diligently. His profits were starting to decline, because a large number of the resources in He Fan Grotto Heaven had already been sold by him. A lot of the resources in He Fan Grotto Heaven could not grow in Fang Yuan's sovereign immortal aperture, he could only sell them and exchange for the things he needed. This way, his profits increased rapidly. But these were non-replenishable resources. After a few months, he ran out of them. Even though Fang Yuan earned a lot of immortal essence stones, he also used a lot of them. An earthly calamity every 2 months was simply too frequent. And recently, Fang Yuan had fought in He Fan Grotto Heaven, Eastern Sea, and become Dragon Mound. He used rank 7 immortal Gu, thus his green grape immortal essence expenditure was huge. And because he was developing his immortal aperture, he had invested a lot in it. His immortal essence stones came and went like a flowing river. Even though the quantity was huge, he was not left with much to keep. Currently, the only thing that can allow me to grow rapidly is to use the light of wisdom after settling the soul path trap in my immortal zombie body. Other than that, I can obtain information path methods to resolve the alliance agreements that I have. It will allow me to deal with the different forces and relationships more freely. I would be able to make full use of them. I can also rise to rank 7 and obtain red date immortal essence. It will greatly lower my expenditure, and give me a qualitative growth. Fang Yuan was aware of his options, but that did not mean he could easily succeed in doing them. He was at an impasse in his cultivation. Unless he had a fortuitous encounter, he could only get through these hurdles slowly. But how could fortuitous encounters come whenever he wanted them? Even if they did, Fang Yuan had to be wary of whether they were part of Heaven's Will's plot. Fang Yuan spent 2 hours cultivating his soul. In the remaining time, he would use Sword Eyebrows Immortal Gu to increase his number of Sword Path Dao marks, or go to the outside world and use Star Eyes Immortal Gu to refine the stars in Black Heaven. Other than this, he had to spend a lot of effort in training his Time Path Killer moves, to gain more proficiency to use them in actual battles. He was mainly working on developing his immortal aperture. Speaking of which, the Sovereign Immortal Aperture's initial stage arrangements were not completed yet. The reason was that he had too many immortal Gu. For him to be self-sufficient and not rely on the outside world, he would need to rely on the production in his Sovereign Immortal Aperture to feed all of his immortal Gu. At that time, his initial stage developments would be completed. Unfortunately, Fang Yuan had many rank 8 immortal Gu. He had just started gathering the food of attitude Gu and wisdom sword immortal Gu. There was no follow-up yet. He had no choice, this was his limit. Every day, he was making the most of every second. He was very stingy towards the use of his time on specific objectives, but his time and energy were limited. Fang Yuan could only think carefully before cultivating the most important aspects that he had chosen. Such hard work caused Fang Yuan to improve rapidly. Almost every day, he made great progress. The sovereign immortal aperture defied heaven itself. Fang Yuan's hard work was simply inhuman. He was ruthless towards others, but was even stricter and more cruel towards himself. With these two elements, his immortal aperture's development was rapid. Fang Yuan's strength was rising all the time. Half a month passed like this, until Fang Yuan finally received Chu Du's letter. In the letter, Chu Du invited Fang Yuan to help. Once they succeeded, he would pay Fang Yuan hugely. Chu Du spoke very courteously and humbly, almost as if he had forgotten Fang Yuan was his ally. Chu Du could control himself for so long, it is quite extraordinary. Fine, I will make the trip. Fang Yuan was mentally prepared long ago. He immediately left. A day and a night later, he arrived at the secret meeting location. When he reached, many Gu immortals had already arrived. Senior, you have arrived. The one who came to welcome Fang Yuan was the Chu sect Gu immortal who had went with Fang Yuan to take down Become Dragon Mound. Allow me to make the introductions. These are experts that Master has called for reinforcements. This is Senior Hao Zhen. Hao Zhen had the appearance of a middle-aged man. He had a beard and a muscular body. He nodded at Fang Yuan. This is Senior Chou Lao Wu. Chu sect's Gu immortal continued. Chou Lao Wu had a dismal-looking face. His body was thin and dry, his back was hunched. He smiled at Fang Yuan with his uneven yellow teeth. His appearance was extremely ugly. This is Senior Li Si Chun. The Chu sect Gu immortal said with an evasive gaze. This Gu immortal was quite unique. He had a square face, with thick brows and huge eyes. His nose bridge was very tall, his chest had thick black hair that was exposed. He was a man but he wore a flowery skirt. Seeing Fang Yuan, his eyes shined brightly as he pulled his flowery skirt, saying seductively, "Oh my goodness, it's a handsome little brother." The Chu sect Gu immortal shuddered. He immediately moved past this person, arriving at the final Gu immortal. This is Senior Immortal Wang. 1. Immortal Wang had a short stature. He had a red nose and triangular little eyes. Looking at Fang Yuan as he said, "We have already introduced ourselves, you are the last one here, why don't you introduce yourself to us?" Fang Yuan smiled plainly, "I have nothing much to say, I am just a lone cultivator. You can call me Lu Guanyi." Lu Guanyi. The Chu sect Gu immortal quickly memorized this name. This was the first time he had heard Fang Yuan's name, because he easily chased away the Baizu tribe Gu immortal and even took away Become Dragon Mound. He had developed a strong interest and curiosity in Fang Yuan, and even a little admiration. In fact, he was not the only one. The other Chu sect Gu immortals also paid a lot of attention to Fang Yuan. After all, they mainly cultivated strength path. Fang Yuan's strength path battle strength was immense. In this world where strength path was declining, he was like their shining beacon of hope. Lu Guanyi. Hao Zhen muttered, seemingly trying to remember this name. The others also etched this name deep in their minds. To be invited by Chu Du, and have the guts to deal with Heavenly Lord Baizu, he was definitely not ordinary. Hao Zhen and the rest had rank 7 cultivation level. Of course, Fang Yuan was currently using familiar face. He was also emitting rank 7 aura. Darling Lu, I heard that you uprooted the entirety of Become Dragon Mound and took it away. You are so capable. Li Si Chun laughed in an enticing manner, approaching Fang Yuan. All of the immortals felt goosebumps over their bodies. Fang Yuan was unmoved. He stared at Li Si Chun with a cold expression. He said plainly, "Stay away from me." The hearts of the other invited immortals shuddered. Fang Yuan emitted a trace of deep killing intent that was bone-chilling. These invited immortals were all knowledgeable people. They instantly knew that this person was an evildoer who had killed countless people and was filled with ruthlessness. The Chu sect Gu immortals around them had little experience, they could not sense Fang Yuan's ferocious nature. The Gu immortal who was doing the introductions for Fang Yuan earlier said, according to Master's arrangement, us Chu sect Gu immortals have low battle strength, we will not participate. We will be relying on you seniors, once we succeed, Master will definitely compensate you well. Tell us about the battle plan. Immortal Wang said. The Chu sect Gu immortal said some shocking things. Master has devised a conclusive plan, seniors, we hope that you will work together and attack Iron Eagle blessed land. At the same time, Snowy Mountain, First Peak. The refinement path Gu formation was shining in golden light, it was so condensed it was almost solid, firmly cast over the peak of the snow mountain. Within the light, Lady Wan Shou and old ancestor Shui Hu were standing in front of Ma Hongyun. Lady Wan Shou was extremely tired, she was carefully taking out a ball of lightning. The ball of lightning was fist-sized, there were sparks inside, creating thunderous sounds, the exterior was protruding at times, at one glance, one could tell this lightning ball was unstable. What are you trying to do? No, ah. Ma Hongyun screamed, he had a frantic expression, but his entire body was immobilized, he could not move. This is the final crucial step. Lady Wan Shou said, pushing the lightning ball towards Ma Hongyun. The lightning ball quickly fused into Ma Hongyun's chest, vanishing instantly. Ha! Ma Hongyun was hit by intense waves of lightning, his body was shaking as he raised his head, he was screaming loudly with all his strength. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1169, Sudden Attack on Iron Eagle Blessed Land, 1/2. Chapter 1169, Sudden Attack on Iron Eagle Blessed Land, 1/2. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Lightning crackled. Ma Hongyun quickly fainted as his eyes rolled over, saliva leaking out of his mouth. He had completely lost consciousness, but his body was still shaking intensely. The lightning started out strong and slowly weakened, until it vanished. Old ancestor Shui Hu's expression sank. Ma Hongyun's lightning refinement failed. If they succeeded, why would Ma Hongyun still be around? He would be refined by lightning, his flesh and bones would be gone, only a lump of golden luck essence would be left. Lady Wan Shou let out a gasp, there was paleness on her beautiful face. She was the one using lightning refinement on Ma Hongyun, it was a crucial step in refining fortune rivaling heaven immortal Gu. Now that she failed, Lady Wan Shou suffered a heavy backlash, she was injured. Dear. Old ancestor Shui Hu had an anxious tone, he expressed concern in his gaze. Lady Wan Shou smiled at him lightly, saying softly, don't worry, I can endure such a level of injury. I just need to rest for half a day and I will recover. Old ancestor Shui Hu let out a breath, that is good. Pausing for a while, he continued, even though we failed this time, it is fine, this is only the first attempt. We have prepared ample refinement materials. That's right. Lady Wan Shou acknowledged, even though we failed once, and have to start over, this refinement path Gu formation preserves much of our beforehand successes, the second refinement will definitely go smoothly. Let me rest for half a day, after I recover, we will start over. How could Immortal Gu refinement succeed at the first attempt? Especially rank 8 Immortal Gu, the success rate was absurdly low. In the past, when He Fan refined years flow like water Immortal Gu, he failed consecutively, he even lost confidence in it after many failures. Thus, old ancestor Shui Hu and Lady Wan Shou did not put this failure to heart. They were very confident. Dear, why the rush? It is fine if you rest for a few days. You may not know yet, another storm is brewing in northern plains, Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu and Chu Du are fighting over the ownership of He Fan Grotto Heaven. Right now, they are in a deadlock, but I am sure Chu Du has backup plans, he has just not used them yet. Old ancestor Shui Hu smiled, explaining the details to her. Oh. Lady Wan Shou heard this and joy flashed across her face. Old ancestor Shui, who was refining fortune rivaling heaven immortal Gu, the risks involved were not just the rank 8 immortal Gu refinement itself. Northern Plains had other rank 8 Gu immortals. They were unwilling to see old ancestor Shui who obtain a rank 8 immortal Gu and become even stronger. Thus, old ancestor Shui who had to keep a close watch on these rank 8 existences. Since Heavenly Lord Baizu was fighting with Chu Du now, for old ancestor Shui Hu, it was a wonderful thing. However, after Lady Wan Shou heard his words, she shook her head firmly, rejecting old ancestor Shui Hu's suggestion. I only need half a day of rest. This refinement path Gu formation was created by Sun Ming Lu, who mimicked Regret Pool. It has several functions of Regret Pool, but it can only last for a day. Resting half a day is the limit. I need to refine Gu using the rest of the time. So that's it. Old ancestor Shui Hu realized, he said with much concern, Dear, it has been hard on you. No matter, it is an extremely exciting thing for me to be able to refine a rank 8 immortal Gu. Lady Wan Shou's eyes shone with dazzling brilliance. That night, moonlight shone on the grasslands. Several figures approached Iron Eagle blessed land stealthily. They were Fang Yuan, Hao Zhen, Chou Lao Wu, Li Si Chun, and Immortal Wang. Iron Eagle blessed land was He tribe's headquarters originally, but after they were wiped out, Heavenly Lord Baizu took over and made it the main base of Baizu tribe. At this moment, Iron Eagle blessed land was hidden in empty space. It could not be seen from the outside. Fang Yuan took a glance, only to see that the green grass was reflecting the moonlight like a lake. It was extremely lush. The night's winds blew on one's face, like the hands of one's lover. It was a harmonious scene, but Fang Yuan and his fellow Gu immortals were overflowing with battle intent. Flames were burning in their hearts. Chu Du's battle plan made Fang Yuan feel admiration towards him. Chu Du endured for half a month. It was not a short time. He planned secretly and gathered his strength, bursting it out as he attacked the enemy's base. If Iron Eagle blessed land were to be successfully taken down, it would greatly influence Baizu tribe. Heavenly Lord Baizu might truly be forced to return and give up on Heifan Grotto Heaven. Chu Du has some brains indeed. He is taking advantage of Baizu tribe's inner conflict. Hao Zhen smiled. Hehe, Baizu tribe took in He tribe. They assimilated the He tribe Gu immortals. Even though the He tribe Gu immortals changed their surnames to Baizu, they have genuine Huang Jin bloodline. They are being ostracized. Just now, almost all of He tribe's Gu immortals were sent out to defend the important resource points. But the Baizu Gu immortals were staying guard inside Iron Eagle blessed land. Chou Lao Wu added. Because Chu Sek's Gu immortals were hidden, they could attack at any time. Baizu tribe's outside resources could not be unguarded. This type of defense mission was very difficult. It was far more dangerous than guarding Iron Eagle blessed land. After all, the Gu formations at the resource points were rebuilt after they were destroyed earlier. Because these points were far from each other, when a single Gu immortal defended one area, it was easy for many enemies to attack them at once. Darling Chu is simply a heroic genius. I was thinking earlier, which resource point should we choose to attack this time for Darling Chu? But to think that we would attack Iron Eagle blessed land directly, every time I think about Darling Chu, my heart pounds so quickly. He is really amazing. Li Si Chun curled his flowery fingers as he clutched his chest, showing a look of attraction and infatuation. Hao Zhen and Chou Lao Wu beside him felt their hair standing. They quickly moved away from him, as far as possible. Alright, we have to strike fast. Who has a method to break into Iron Eagle blessed land? Why are you not going ahead with it? Fang Yuan asked coldly. Li Si Chun's eyes shined brightly. Darling Lu is so cool, I am really moved. Fang Yuan said expressionlessly, F*CK off, will you? Li Si Chun gasped, holding his chest as he took a few steps back, shaking his head. I am so upset, my heart is about to shatter. As if he could not stand Li Si Chun's amorous words, Immortal Wang stood up. Like what Fang Yuan had estimated, among them, someone had a way to break into blessed lands rapidly. This was not Fang Yuan's confidence in these strangers. it was his confidence in Chu Du. He was an intelligent person. Why would he not think of this when devising a plan to attack Iron Eagle Blessed Land? Immortal Wang's throat emitted a sound, his aura rose intensely as countless Gu worm auras emanated from his body. With a bright flash, Immortal Wang turned into a giant hound. This hound had white fur, like snow, it had 4 strong limbs and a big head, its eyes were pale and colorless, without any pupils. Li Si-chun gasped as he cried out, "Ah, this is an immemorial desolate beast, heaven-swallowing hound." Hao Zhen and Chou Lao Wu looked at each other, feeling joy and surprise. Did it mean he had rank 8 battle strength? Fang Yuan shook his head calmly. Even if he became a heaven-swallowing hound, he only has rank 7 cultivation level, how can he have rank 8 battle strength? If he did, why would Fang Yuan, Hao Zhen, and the rest need to come? Just Immortal Wang alone could take down Iron Eagle Blessed Land. Furthermore, if he had rank 8 battle strength, he would be famous in Northern Plains. How could Chu Du invite him over so easily? At this moment, the heaven-swallowing hound that Immortal Wang turned into burst out with countless Gu worm auras again. These auras intertwined, instantly, another immortal killer move was conjured. The heaven-swallowing hound suddenly opened its mouth, biting at the space in front of it. Space shook, a shadow was torn out, entering the heaven-swallowing hound's mouth. Next, shocked shouts could be heard. "Who is it? You dare to devour our Iron Eagle Blessed Land? Enemy attack!" Like the shattering of a mirror, a huge gap was created. Fang Yuan and the others could see the scene inside Iron Eagle Blessed Land. The Baizu Gu immortals reacted quickly, several figures flew over, wanting to block Fang Yuan and the rest. Immortal Wang turned back to human form, saying weakly, "I need to recuperate, it is up to all of you now." Seeing his pale face, turning into the immemorial desolate beast was clearly beyond his limits, or perhaps, that immortal killer move earlier had a strong drawback. Boom! Fang Yuan stomped, creating a huge pit on the ground. Before Immortal Wang finished his words, he had shot out like a cannon, charging over imposingly. He was the first to invade, entering Iron Eagle Blessed Land. Such guts! Look at our Immortal Gu. The Gu immortals from Baizu tribe faced him. Among them, there were rank 6 and 7 Gu immortals. They attacked fiercely. Fang Yuan snorted, pushing with his right hand. With a loud sound, air burst as a huge giant hand slammed in that direction. Fighting offense with offense. Fang Yuan displayed incredible battle strength, he was extremely powerful. The Strength Path giant hand crushed the layers of attacks by the Baizu Gu immortals. Thereafter, it flew towards the Baizu Gu immortals. But after blocking the attacks earlier, the Strength Path giant hand did not have enough force left. A Baizu Gu immortal attacked fiercely. With a swoosh, countless golden needles flew out of his mouth. In the blink of an eye, it pierced countless holes in the giant hand, before flying towards Fang Yuan. A cold light flashed deep within Fang Yuan's dark eyes. Sword escape Immortal Gu. In an instant, his speed rose drastically, he flew deep into Iron Eagle Blessed Land like a flying sword. Baizu tribe's Gu immortals were shocked by his speed. Hao Zhen, Chou Lao Wu, and Li Si-chun, these 3 immortals behind him were very shocked too. They were hoping that Fang Yuan would be in front, diverting the firepower away from them. But would Fang Yuan let them take advantage of him? At the next moment, a Gu immortal from Baizu tribe chased after Fang Yuan relentlessly. The other Gu immortals remained on the spot, blocking Hao Zhen, Chou Lao Wu, and Li Si-chun. Countless attacks flew out like torrential rain. A chaotic battle ensued. The Gu immortals could not care about anything else, they were all stuck here. Fang Yuan flew into the sky. His investigative methods had been activated long ago, he could see many traces left behind during the Battle of He tribe. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1170, Sudden Attack on Iron Eagle Blessed Land, 2 halves. Chapter 1170, Sudden Attack on Iron Eagle Blessed Land, 2 halves. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Even though Iron Eagle Blessed Land was taken over by Baizu tribe, it had only operated for a short time. Even though it was being renewed, it was still far from He tribe's prime. Fong Yuan's eyes shined. He could see many eagle nests floating in the sky. There are few resources on the ground, but the sky has at least 100 eagle nests. It seems that Baizu tribe's strategy is to develop Iron Eagle Blessed Land's specialty and fully place effort in raising Iron Crown Eagles and other desolate beasts. Fong Yuan realized. This was clearly a good strategy. Raising desolate beasts and selling them in Treasure Yellow Heaven would grant a huge profit for each of them. Last time, I could not be here for the destruction of He tribe. This time, I can earn a huge profit and snatch all of these eagle nests. Fong Yuan felt excitement. He was very perceptive. At one glance, he could tell that in the entirety of Iron Eagle Blessed Land, the most valuable thing were these eagle nests. And there was a crucial point: these eagle nests were easy to take, unlike the other resources. Evil scoundrel, stop! Behind him, a Baizu tribe Gu immortal was frantically shouting. It seems that I need to get rid of this problem. Fong Yuan sneered, turning around and charging towards the pursuer. This pursuer was called Baizu Wei. He had rank 7 cultivation level, and was the leader of the defenders of Iron Eagle Blessed Land. Just earlier, he was the one who sent out all of He tribe's Gu immortals to the resource points in the outside world to defend them. He felt that Iron Eagle Blessed Land was still safe, but Chu Du's strategies had outmaneuvered him. This attack came too quickly. When Fong Yuan and the others attacked, it was like lightning had struck Baizu Wei's heart. If Iron Eagle Blessed Land suffered a huge loss, as the leader, he would have to bear the responsibility. Thus, he was very anxious now. He made up his mind, even if he had to put his life on the line, he had to defend Iron Eagle Blessed Land. Thus, Baizu Wei's facial muscles moved when he saw Fong Yuan charging at him. He showed a ruthless expression. He did not dodge. Instead, he rushed at Fong Yuan with an even fiercer stance. Oh! Fong Yuan's gaze shined. He saw that his opponent's body was shining in golden light. A Metal Path Gu immortal. He seems to be very confident in his defense. Fong Yuan had this thought in his mind as he turned around, flying in the backward left direction. Sword Escape Immortal Gu's speed was extraordinary, but he did not gain any distance from Baizu Wei. He used his Immortal Killer move. His speed was not any slower. Even though Baizu tribe's Gu immortals have always lived inside Heavenly Lord Baizu's Grotto Heaven, they are not weak at all because of this rank 8 Gu immortals nurturing. Then, let me see your investigative methods. Fong Yuan's body shook. He used the Immortal Killer move Myriad Self. Rumble. At the next moment, countless Fong Yuan phantoms appeared, filling up half of the sky. Baizu Wei's expression of rage and anxiety froze. He used his investigative killer move next. His eyes turned golden. 2 rays of light seemed to be shooting out from his eyes, as he started looking around. My investigative immortal killer move was created by Heavenly Lord himself. No matter where you are hiding, how can you escape my detection? Baizu Wei was confident. But next, after a few breaths of time, he was stunned. How can this be? Where is his true body? I can't see it. He was extremely shocked. He would not know. Even though his investigative killer move was good, Fong Yuan's familiar face was immensely better. The former was created by Heavenly Lord Baizu, but the latter was a move famously used by thieving Heaven Demon Venerable. Boom boom boom. Eagle nests broke open as Fong Yuan manipulated the Myriad Self army, attacking these eagle nests with full force. In the eagle nests, there were young eagles and eggs that had not hatched yet. Their homes were wrecked. The young eagles were chirping, moving out and fighting with Fong Yuan's phantoms. Fong Yuan's phantoms had low quality, they could not fight against the young desolate beast eagles. However, the number of phantoms was too high, they could attack from every direction. The young desolate beast eagles could not defend the nests. Soon, eagle nests were destroyed as they fell from the sky. No! Bai Zhu Wei shouted, rushing over, using a metal path killer move to try and catch an eagle nest that was falling. He next carefully placed it on the ground as it descended. Using this chance, Fang Yuan revealed his true self. He used Strength Path Giant Hand and grabbed an eagle nest, stuffing it into his immortal aperture. His immortal aperture's entrance opened and closed, stuffing an eagle nest inside. Bai Zhu Wei saved the eagle nest in front of him. He had just let out a breath of air when he saw this scene. Immediately, his eyes turned red as he furiously shouted, "No! Damn thief, return our eagle nest!" Saying this, he pounced at Fang Yuan with a ferocious aura. Fang Yuan's lips curled, he smiled sinisterly as he entered the myriad self-army, manipulating these strength path phantoms to scatter. Bai Zhu Wei was stunned. His investigative method could not expose familiar face. He could only attack randomly, betting on chance. But how could his luck surpass Fang Yuan, who had dog shit luck Immortal Gu, and had also used Connect Luck on 4 lucky people? Like this, Fang Yuan manipulated the myriad self-army, attacking eagle nests everywhere. Bai Zhu Wei was alone and could not find Fang Yuan's true body. He could only rush everywhere, desperately salvaging the situation. Fang Yuan used this chance to strike, taking more eagle nests into his immortal aperture. Bai Zhu Wei roared angrily, but he was helpless to stop him. His lungs were bursting from anger. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "Shameless thief! Fight me fairly and openly if you have the balls to do so." Fang Yuan ignored him. Bai Zhu Wei screamed again, "You cowardly bastard, you are running around like a rat, how dare you invade my Bai Zhu tribe?" Fang Yuan stored another eagle nest. Bai Zhu Wei had bloodshot eyes, his voice was hoarse, "You will not remain smug for long, you have offended Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu. Even if you run to the ends of the world, we will find you and deal with you." Fang Yuan laughed heartily, chanting on the spot, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, the eagle nests are in my hands, what can Bai Zhu tribe's Gu immortals do to me? Guh. Bai Zhu Wei spat out a mouthful of blood from pure anger. In fact, these eagle nests were managed by him. He poured his blood and sweat into each of them. Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu would not care about these things. He trusted and gave him the authority to manage them. But Bai Zhu tribe did not have much resources. Bai Zhu Wei was putting in a lot of effort to try and increase the resource production. These eagle nests were his biggest hope in helping Bai Zhu tribe ascend and break free from financial problems. But these beautiful prospects were ruined by this accursed Fang Yuan. "I will not let you off, I will not let you off even if I die." Bai Zhu Wei screamed. He was spitting out blood and having a shrill voice, but the hatred in his voice made Immortal Wang, who had just arrived, feel a chill down his spine. How many eagle nests did this Lu Guanyi take, to make Bai Zhu Wei so enraged? Immortal Wang reacted. He felt envious and jealous. He wanted the person Bai Zhu Wei was cursing to be himself. Hao Zhen, Chou Lao Wu, and Li Si Chun were still fighting. "Where is Immortal Wang?" He entered the place. This dog actually went on a detour and made a new entrance at the back. The 3 immortals conversed. They were anxious and furious. They wanted to go inside too and scavenge for resources, but Bai Zhu tribe's Gu immortals were blocking their entry. These Bai Zhu tribe Gu immortals could not be killed. Fang Yuan knew this. Hao Zhen and the rest also knew that this was their bottom line. Bai Zhu tribe was just established. They only had these few Gu immortals. They were all nurtured by Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu. If they died, it would mean becoming enemies with Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu without any hope of reconciliation. If Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu did not take revenge, he would not have any face to remain in Northern Plains. Attacking Iron Eagle blessed land and making Bai Zhu tribe lose some resources, or even killing some He tribe Gu immortals was fine. The important thing was, these Bai Zhu tribe Gu immortals could not die. Chu Du had placed much emphasis on this point before they went. Chu Du did not want to be a mortal enemy with Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu. In terms of strength, Bai Zhu tribe's Gu immortals were inferior to Hao Zhen, Chou Lao Wu, and Li Si Chun. These 3 rank 7 Gu immortals, but they were united and fought together. The 3 immortals were actually suppressed instead. Li Si-chun shouted, let's retreat first. The other two immortals reacted, immediately moving back. Baizu tribe's Gu immortals chased after them, as the three immortals split up. Quickly come back. This is the outside world of Northern Plains, we are not reinforced by Iron Eagle blessed land. There are already enemies inside the blessed land, let's go back and help Lord Wei. Baizu tribe's Gu immortals chased for a while before returning to Iron Eagle blessed land. The three immortals saw a chance and flew back immediately. Among them, Li Si-chun went to the entrance created by Immortal Wang, successfully getting into Iron Eagle blessed land. Baizu tribe's Gu immortals were panicking, the entrance could not be blocked anymore, even if they went to the bigger gap in space, they could not change the situation. They were also concerned about Baizu Wei's safety. After all, 3 rank 7 Gu immortals had already entered Iron Eagle blessed land. Let's go find Lord Wei first. This was a wise decision. Without anyone guarding it, Hao Zhen and Chou Lao Wu got into the blessed land as well. Quick, quick, we are the last ones in. Go and see what resources there are, and get them for ourselves. Hao Zhen and Chou Lao Wu were extremely hurried. Gu immortals needed resources to cultivate, this was their foundation for cultivation. Without resources, they could do nothing. This time, the immortals came to attack Baizu tribe, their own objective was to gain benefits. Without profits, how could anyone resolve themselves to offend a rank 8 Gu immortal? Alright, these soft jades are all mine. Li Si-chun licked his lips, unsatisfied. The soft jade beach in front of him was newly built by Baizu tribe. Unfortunately, there were only a few hundred soft jades on the beach, the largest one was only basin-sized, Li Si-chun was not satisfied. This is the third resource point I have found, there are so little resources. Damn, Baizu tribe is so poor, what's the point of trying to become a super force? Li Si-chun stood with his hands on his waist as he cursed. Oh. Wait, no. He raised his head, looking at the sky with a flickering gaze. Damn, why did I forget about this? He patted his forehead, rapidly flying into the sky. There were only 3 eagle nests in the sky. Countless Fang Yuan phantoms were still flying in the sky, diverting Baizu Wei's attention. Fang Yuan's true body was hidden among them, no matter how Baizu Wei cursed him, he refused to come out. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know in report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.